Good night, people from Puerto Cabeza. Good night, the Creole people. We are here right now because we have a certain limitation with energy, with the light. So we having our program in a different place here at this moment. As you all can see, we have some nice people out here, our Creole people, people that have been doing different things in different times, not only here in Puerto Cabeza, but also in Nicaragua, and I can say also in the level of in international level also. Who we have today is our candidates. They are candidates from different political parties, and that Sean and myself, who conduct this program, was think it's important to bring out the candidates that are in Creole circumscription or Creole candidates that is in running in this election. And on my right side here, we have Dr. Florence Levy, who is running on the circumscription 07 from the Frente Sandinista, the FSLN. And then we have Dr. Armando Rojas also, one Creole person that is an Afro-descendant person that is running also as a candidate from the PAMUK party. And then we have Daniel Torres, who is running also on the circumscription 07, representing the PLC party. We have Javier Slade, who represents the PLI here in Port and in our region. And what we will be doing here is trying to talk with this candidate in the future. I mean, in couple weeks from now, they're not going to be any more candidate, but they're going to be our authority in the regional council. And we believe that they have a lot of things to do with the Creole people, and they can link what they have to do with our organization. So today we'll be talking little. We can't say when we're talking little about politics, but when we're talking about issue that we feel like we should be doing, and issue that have to do with development with the Black Creole people here in Puerto Cabeza. I think welcome all of you all. Bienvenidos todos y todas. One of the things what I feel like is important to start is saying little about what we have done as organization of the Nicaraguan Black People Association. We know that this organization we organize ourselves because we feel the first thing that we wasn't visibilized in all the things that have to do with program, project, and anything that have to go from the regional government, So we believe that one of the most important things is start organizing ourselves. So that's the way how we organize as this organization. But then we do political incidents, which try to work on strengthening our identity. We work also to do some investigation, some research about ourselves, about our cultural aspect. And we have been working together and trying to do things to visibilize ourselves as Afro-descendants, Afro-Creole people here in Puerto Cabeza. We're not doing it alone. We know we have a lot of different Creole people who have been in this organization, a lot of professionals, Creole people, and not only doing things because they are in the organization, they're doing things because they are in different space also, but they having link in what they are doing with the mission and the object or the purpose of our organization. Firstly, I just want to mention some couple things that is worrying the Creole people, and we know because we had been discussing issue with the Creole people. One of the first aspect that we believe, I mean, since we in this context of election here in the region, we believe that the Creole people need more opportunity to participate in the different space here in that thing. Is we can look over our autonomy's law. The autonomy say that in the circumscription 07, the first one should head that circumscription should be a Creole people, and that's the way. That's how many people try to set Creole people in those spaces to go to public space. But we believe that it should be more than just 07, you know. We believe that we need to share this thing better with the Afro-descendants, people that live here in Bilwi, and the different the indigenous group, and also the mestizos that live here. So that cares us to review little, especially when they was talking about reforming the Law 28. We meet together several times as group, and we discuss that what we feel that it should put in that reform that would benefit somehow in the political representation and in other aspect of the Creole people. So one of the things what came out there is that we believe that since the autonomy is a multi-ethnic autonomy, we need that the Creole people need to meet together, need to make assemble, and they can propose their own candidate, and and get more spaces. We don't believe that 45 people that is in the regional council, and probably only we have 2 or 3 Creole people. We feel like they have to distribute this better. That out of that 45 member, we feel like certain percentage have to be for the Creole, for the indigenous, for the mestizo, and so that is one of the main aspects that we are pointing out in this reform of the law. The other thing that we know that a lot of program, a lot of projects just come for economical development, for social development in the Atlantic coast, and especially here in the North region. But is we can review those program or those projects, we don't find anything that have to do with a component that have to do with Afro-descendants. We usually we mention, okay, we did this in the Caribbean coast, and it was Afro-descendant or indigenous people and Afro-descendant. But as we go deeply and look at the report of those aspect or those program or project what they develop with the people, them is little benefit for the Afro-descendants people. So that is another issue that we feel like is important, that in case you all get in there, and I don't say in case, I'm sure that you all will be there, that you all can look over that. And the other thing that we are pointing on is that to create this Secretaría para Atención de Asuntos Afrodescendientes in the government, in the regional government. I mean, that is we feel like that is a practical way, or we feel like this space can help that they can develop program and project towards the Afro-descendants people. So these are, I mean, general things that we are thinking and we are discussing, and we feel like we can. I don't think when talk today about it, but we are pointing also for those things as Afro-descendants here in Bilwi. So I'm not going to talk much. I know I'm talking a lot already, but we're going to just go to thank you all once more for coming here, and we're going to go in deeply in some questions that we want to give you all, make you all to answer in this moment. We're just going to hear one music, and then afterward we go in a question.
Yo, one to them. Yo, one to them. One to them. One to them. Robin, yeah. Robin, yeah. Let's go to them. Robin, yeah. Robin, yeah. Robin, yeah. Trinidad massive. Saint Lucia massive. Put up a rubber for the flavor. One to them. One to them. Yo. Microsoft. Microsoft. Microsoft 6. I catch enough. Put my pressure on, my pressure. My pressure 6. I catch enough, bad. Give me pressure, take the pressure, put the pressure, take the pressure, give me 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 pressure, take the pressure. What to them? When we reach up on the highway, what we chanting? Carnival Monday and Tuesday, what we chanting? Hey, we fancy next to family. Hey, on the road again we get in the nobody we when we chanting. Give me pressure, take the pressure, give me the pressure, take the pressure, give me pressure, take the pressure, give me the pressure, take the pressure, give me pressure. Anyway, the people coming, what we chanting? Sexy girls just can't stop whining. Henderson, we can't stop drinking. Put a rag in the air. When we're full of fast, let me never shall pull up the. Everybody, give me pressure, take the pressure, give me the pressure, take the pressure, give me pressure, take the pressure, give me the pressure, take the pressure, give me pressure, take the pressure, 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 St. Lucia Massive. Trinidad.
One to them.
Grenada. Barbados.
One to them.
Let me see the pressure rocks up in the sky. Let me see it.
Pressure. Pressure. Pressure.
We can't see them.
Pressure.
Faster than that.
Pressure.
Everybody know.
Pressure. 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 Pressure.
We're gonna get the air and pressure. Give me the pressure. Take the pressure. Give me the pressure.
Pressure. Pressure.
One drop.
Pressure.
Welcome to Trinidad Zone. Everybody tight. Nobody here going home is pressure here tonight. Go and take a shot of that and I see to the fast but trigger and responsibility don't put too much in your and we said give me pressure. Take the pressure. Give me the pressure. Take the pressure. Give me pressure.
Pressure. Pressure. Pressure.
Give me pressure. Take the pressure. Give me the pressure.
Pressure. Pressure. Pressure. Pressure.
Yo. One drop. Trinidad and Tobago. And all Miss St. Lucia crew. All Miss St. Lucia crew. We jumping up like we don't care. We drinking until the road clear. See people inside of here. This is our time of year carnival is there. Put up your rocking here. Give me pressure. Take the pressure. Give me the pressure. Take the pressure. Give me pressure. Take the pressure. Give me the pressure. Take the pressure. Give me pressure.
Pressure. Pressure. Pressure. Pressure. Pressure. Pressure.
Somebody point the finger so. We going so. Point the rock so. I say point the finger so. After three we breaking down the barricade. One, get ready to go. Get ready to go. One, two, show me the pressure. We going so. Give me pressure. Take the pressure. Give me the pressure.
Take the pressure. 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 Pressure.
Hold on there. Don't go over so yet. We're not done.
Come here with him.
I said this is the finals. So after three we're breaking it down again. One, get ready. Two, get ready. One, two, everybody make the pressure barricade and give me pressure. Take the pressure. Give me the pressure.
Pressure. Pressure. Pressure. Pressure. Pressure.
Give me pressure. Take the pressure. Give me the pressure. Take the pressure.
Pressure. Pressure. Pressure. Pressure.
Good night, folks out there. Welcome once more to our Black TV program. We are going to be switching, Dixie, because we have one of our guests over here that don't quite handle well the English. So we are going to be switching between English, Creole, and Spanish in order for him to interact also. This is a space that we want it to be like a dialogue with the candidates that are going representing one way or the other our Black Creole population out there. So we are going to start the process of talking with you all by just asking simple question, and we are expecting that each one of you all can just give an opinion regarding it. Firstly, we would like for you all to share with the people what is your opinion regarding the indicators of development here in the region. We know that sabemos que existe el Plan Nacional de Desarrollo Humano aquí en nuestro país e integra dentro de todo el documento algunos indicadores de desarrollo. Entonces, en cuanto a eso, ¿cuál es su opinión como candidatos a concejales regionales y quizás futuros concejales regionales en cuanto al logro de algunos indicadores de desarrollo, particularmente en la región autónoma Atlántico Norte? Quizás iniciamos por Miss Livy.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for inviting us once again. Well, I think usually when we look at the human development indicators, you know, they have been constructed, not necessarily with the participation of the different groups. And one of the main demands that maybe has not been voiced yet by the Afro-descendant from Nicaragua or from Port is that what are the criteria that they has been using to measure development? Because it's going to vary. We would see if we look at the indigenous population, usually from outside, they would measure us the same as they measure people with a high standard of education and development. And that when you come to look at what needs are, it's going to vary because for one stratus of population, usually they would be feeling that they have a like high standard of living if they have materials good, whereas for others it's going to be have a land, have enough production, or have safe water, you know. So these are things that in the international arena it has been, you know, coming over and over on the agenda that we need to review what are the criteria to set human development, and don't, you know, put it as something that has to be standard for all of us. Yeah. So at this moment, we know that in Nicaragua, if we look at the autonomous region, north and south, usually we are giving like the contribution to deteriorate the indicators in the country. So that's mean that we need to do like more investment in health, in education, in food production, in bettering income, and that means we have to also give more participation in political and social spaces. So then we could talk about a real impact on the national even indicators, because at the moment we are saying that Nicaragua is improving. Yeah, Nicaragua is achieving certain goals, but when we look within the country, where are the ones that are still being left behind are usually on the Caribbean side. So I think that it needs to be reviewed, and we are doing other contributions probably that are not being taken into account. Like, for example, if we are saying that we are intercultural, multicultural, multilingual country, why then we are not really taken into account in other spaces that are beyond the Caribbean, for example. I will just give opportunity to somebody else, and that I would go on. I like to talk.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I totally agree on that. And also, I'd like to just add that development is something that we don't see only on on paper. It's something has to be with our reality, with all the practice of our reality. Um, Usually, all those project and planification sometimes done through specialists that would come and do these things. But what about the people, the common grassroots people that want today food? They want to eat today. They want to have enough income to put matriculate their son or their daughter to school. What about them? So if we are talking to about development, we must not think on the big things to be done, but small things, family at the family level. Also, we know that whenever we talk about development, there is a different concepts that people handle about development. So we have to be clear that the model that we accept here is the model that's supposed to come from the communities, from the territories, and from the regional government. This should be the step, the route to development, because how it is now, it is coming from the central government, going down to the regional government, for the territorial, for the community. I think that's not the route that we have to take up. So we are we are we are concerned as candidate too, that we have the regional government that is the government to make development in this region. We are conscious about it. Nevertheless, we have to get together not only who is going to be in the government, but also the different social groups that exist in our society. The people that have business, small business, the people that live in the community, the farmers, people that live handling the territories, all those had to come together to make one real, genuine plan for development. The Atlantic coast is far, far behind development when you're taking into consideration the aspects of income and the aspect of cities developing. We are a way back. Nevertheless, we have one thing, or resources. We have resources, which is the base of our economy. So therefore, talk about development is just don't talk about what we have to do, but how we must do it and with what we must do it. So I think it is very important that we take up this as something that we have to work towards. Thank you.
Thank you, hermano.
Sí, buenos días. Sabemos que la sociedad de Nicaragua y en especial de las regiones autónomas Atlántico Norte y Sur y aquí en Puerto Cabeza, la sociedad percibe, observa que ha sido muy bajo, muy poco el desarrollo humano. Por tanto, ha habido falta que los concejales regionales de los diferentes partidos tienen que trabajar de manera coordinada, ¿verdad? Coordinada para poder avanzar. Hay una pequeña diferencia entre el sur y el norte. Se ha percibido en varios estudios que se ha hecho que en el sur hay un poquito más de avance, porque los concejales, una vez que ganan, se olvidan de partidos políticos y ellos trabajan de forma coordinada para el desarrollo. Por tanto, la calidad de vida, desarrollo humano, es un poquito mejor que en la RAN, que hay más discordia, ¿verdad? Toma en cuenta a las banderas políticas. Por tanto, como candidato, una vez que gane como concejal, trabajaré más en coordinación con todos los candidatos, concejales de otros partidos. Mi bancada hará cabildeos con diferentes partidos para avanzar un poco más el desarrollo humano.
Good night. First of all, thank you for inviting us to this. Um, First time I'm talking with a group of experts or professionals from the Black Afro descendants. Congratulations for this invitation and for this, would say, this talks that we are organized this evening about human development. I agree with some of my colleagues or professionals that they presented about how we are, where we are with the human development. Let me say something. We should be clear that we, the black people, they look at us just when they want us to dance. That is what black people are good for. Get out and dance maypole. That's all. Or when they want we to cook rundown, a black food. But when they to give us space, they look who they want, they choose who they want, and they put them to the space, but they don't give them the power. And it's two things we need to be clear. I'm a black man, or you are a black woman, and you are on a public function as a public servant, not for your people. But you have no power. Then what can you do? I can put an example right now. We have in the central government 22 men and women from the Caribbean coast. This is the first government that had put or appoint 22 men and women. But the question is, what are they doing for the Caribbean coast? Are they have power? We have in the most important position in our country. foreign corporation, we have a black man. The Ministry of the Budget, Hacienda, is a black man from Bluefields. You know? We have our ambassador in Washington, a black man. We have someone in our directive board in the National Congress, a black woman. You know, and I can go appointing and I can mention you 22 people. But then when you see the job result, is you have a lot to say. For human development, you need to prepare. A lot of Creole people, we know a lot of Creole people here have good preparation, but with their own efforts, with their own struggle. One of the big things that they are damaging us with is our language. They are not bilingual. Yes, bilingual there in other languages and Spanish, but no bilingual in English. What is happening with our children? They are growing up, what we teach them home, they speak the little Creole that we learn them. And some of us even forget to teach our children. But there's no program from the state to say, let's rescue and teach these children them in their language, in English, because that's an international language. And any country, nowadays in Nicaragua, you need the young people that speak in English, you have a job opportunity, foreign government enterprises or others. So that's one of the big issues that human development, your language. We're lost in our language. The second thing, the first thing that I mentioned, that would be the second. They put you in, give you a space, but they don't give you the power. The government need to turn and look to the east, because there's where the sun rays. They're still looking to the Pacific, to the west, where the sun set. We are at the east, where the sun rays, the Caribbean. And they don't realize that the sun rays in the east. Turn around and look and see what's happening in the east, in the Caribbean. So for human development, we really need, any one of us that into power, we need to act. We need to demand that power to act, because remember that it's not the flag that do development, it's the person that is into power. And we need to demand, and if they don't give us power, we need to demand that power. We need power because our people depend on us and looking at us. So human development is very low. Yes, they are trying, but I think they're not trying on the right way to get this how we would like.
Thank you very much. Definitely, this is one of the questions that we cannot answer in 10 minutes, right? However, we wanted to start our program with this question as general question, but focus on the Afros. Why? Because many of our Afro population have manifest in all the spaces that we, the Black organization, have made, that we talk about development. But indeed, what is development? Because if we talk about education, let's see what indicators of development in education, in health, in political incidents. So that is why we begin this question, and all what you all mentioned indeed have a point, right? So we will just leave it as reflection for our Black population out there and for you all. Each one of you all manifest different elements that is important to take in consideration once whoever reach there tomorrow. I would like for you all to comment on what will be your suggestion or your proposal towards strengthening and promoting transparency within the regional council and the regional government. Why this question? And this is fundamental, and I'm bringing it out from many opinions of our Afro population when we made our small forum of this Reforma de Autonomía, Reforma de Autonomía, and they mentioned today we no confiamos en nuestras autoridades regionales, no confiamos en nuestras autoridades que están en el gobierno por el simple hecho de que no se nos rinde, por el simple hecho de que no sabemos cómo es la transparencia en la gestión de nuestras autoridades. ¿Cómo hablaremos de desarrollo si no sabemos qué es lo que están haciendo, con qué lo están haciendo y cómo lo están haciendo? Entonces, el punto aquí, desde la opinión individual, profesional de ustedes como candidatos a concejal, ¿cuál sería sus propuestas para fortalecer y mejorar, por ende, la transparencia de la gestión del Consejo Regional y del Gobierno Regional. Maybe.
Start here. Thank you. Quick, going back to back. Uh, Towards that question, we need to be clear. And let's put an example. If you start out in your home with a little business and you don't manage that business the right way, transparency, that business is going to close in a short time. You will go to bankruptcy. You need to have a good administration with transparency. Anytime you have a good administration transparency, you will start to grow. And that is one of the issues that is affecting us seriously. What are we need to do? We need to have the instant, maybe, let's say, you had the office in the regional government, regional council, regional government, that really to be guaranteeing that projects that come in, it's really they work with these projects and they carry it out to the population in a way with the most transparency. That's one. We need to have an instance to be observing and carrying out inspection to see that really they are doing what they should do with the projects. Because that's one of the main problems. Why we're not growing? You know, it's shame to hear at the end of the day that this big project come and they did it with this project this way. They didn't do it the right way. Sometimes it's maybe not true, but maybe you are not giving an inform to the town. You know, you're not preparing a report to the town, maybe every 3 months or every 2 months or whatever at time, table time, so the town can believe. And the best thing is that you can work. So we are talking about putting an office to be inspecting that each project that come in to be really to be implemented with all transparency. Thank you.
Bueno, para trabajar con transparencia hace falta trabajar, ¿verdad?, con las comunidades, con los barrios, puesto que sabemos que hoy en día, en estos últimos o en los más de 20 años que llevamos la autonomía, la mayor parte de los concejales no ha trabajado de la mano con la gente que lo han llevado, tanto en los barrios y en las comunidades. Se habla mucho, se escucha mucho de que los concejales cuando llegan se van o se mantienen más que todo de viaje, van a Managua, ¿verdad? Andan en otros países. Entonces llega muy poco al pueblo, llega muy poco al barrio, llega muy poco a las comunidades, y esto es lo que permite que se desencante, se note de que no hay transparencia. Hace falta hacer que los concejales que ganan, invitar a la gente a demostrar, a manifestar los trabajos que están haciendo, los trabajos, los proyectos que vienen realizando, tienen que estar demostrándolo a la gente, a los habitantes, a las comunidades, si es posible, a lo mejor cada 3 meses, cada 4 meses, invitar a la gente y para que la gente vea la transparencia con que va, pero para eso, como hace poquito decía, trabajar de manera mancomunada con todos los partidos.
Transparency is something that is a word that I think the regional government and council is afraid of, or they don't want to hear about, because that is the weak spot, the weak point of the government right now. On the contrary, the black Afro-descendant people that's what most they have that they can afford. Transparency. In all wherever we had administration with Afro-descendant people, we always had a good administration. Contrary, no, we don't have good administration because there's a lot of people that is in these posts. They're only their formation is different, and they have different rules. So therefore, it is very difficult to not to be enticed by these by the money or by the different things coming into the government. I think it is important that in order to have more transparency, is to set up rules in the government, to set up controls in the government. As Dixie was saying that if they can, and also Javier, if they can put an office in the government, in the regional government, in the regional council, to see about these things, I think is very, very important. I think that is something we can do right now. We can go and ask for that, demand that, and that would probably help us to have a little more transparency because they might be afraid to do things, and because what they do, they don't, it doesn't come out. Sometimes you'll hear it on the air, but the 99% you don't hear about that. That is just went underneath the table, and that is it. So therefore, I think the Afro descendant, we have plenty to give, plenty to show in that aspect.
Yeah, I think in my case, I think the most important thing is that I don't forget who I am and why I'm here. And I remember when we started the Black People Movement Association, that was one of the reasons why we went into, gathering ourselves, because we wanted to make sure that we were in the different spaces that would allow us to continue contributing, but in a more like organized way, that we could have more incidents. And why I bring that who I am and why I am here, because I am what has been my social, cultural, and construction. And I come, for example, from the Wilson family. When I said Wilson, I know, as Armando was saying, I am from a family that has been accountable of every penny that goes in their hand, every penny that comes in your hand, that you keep close track. That up to now I have that habit that everything I spend, I put down in a little notebook. And even if it's my own expenses, I need to know what I'm doing with it, because that is my first call also as a Christian, that I has to be a good administrator. And a good administrator is always accountable of. And I totally agree that we need to be more accountable to who elect us. And all the communities that I have visited this campaign period and things, that is their main cry. Why you forget about us? And I think that I personally, the only promise I gave to people was that, since they said you are in a winning position, I said, well, great if I am there, but I need to be prepared, and that the first thing I had to do is come and share with the people that I went and spoke with what is the regional plan, what it is, what is in there, because people don't know about it. I am just learning about it, so what is in there, what it costs, what is in the national, what they call it, the Plan de Inversión Pública, that where everything is said, for what we're going to be doing in the next couple of years. And so people could then I think that another thing that is already there in the land is not being accomplished yet. And you said we find it hard to go and give account to the communities and the people that elect us, is that there is an exercise we're supposed to, at least every 6 months or once a year at least, come back to people and said, this is what we had tell you at the beginning of the year that we were going to do. This is what get done. This wasn't get done. And are these still our same priorities or not? This is something that I have personally learned to do in health with the communities I have been working for, and especially in the last 10 years of my life. And I think that that is something I would happily bring into the work we need to do from the regional office, as authority. But the most important thing for me is that be who you are and make sure that always what you see is what you get.
Well, I just want to thank everybody. I mean, really good answer and good aspect is coming up here with this question. What Sean said. I think when we talk about transparency, we also have to think. We have to be transparent in also giving the right information to the people. And I think Florence talked a little about giving this report to the people, and people should know what is taking place in the regional government, in economical and budget system. Far as yet, I don't know what is the amount of budget the regional council and the regional government get. I think that should be something clear to everybody. Yeah, exactly. We shouldn't hide that. And the other thing that is coming up probably is good, like to create this. Someone is saying about the office as transparency. Maybe we could create this secretary as transparency, so we can look over that. And I think it's a really interested question and answer. Thank you all for answering this nice question.
Good. At an international level, we are aware, I guess, of the promotion that the United Nations have tried to really reinvent, never learned that word, the Afro's reinvent, exactly, the Afro's rights. 2011 was an hito for us. However, once more, real reality, real transformation. El año 2011, las Naciones Unidas decretó y aprobó en unanimidad el Año Internacional del Pueblo Afrodescendiente. Sin embargo, nuevamente la población afro siente y manifiesta la falta de políticas públicas, la falta de programas que estén direccionados al desarrollo y bienestar de este colectivo. Ahora, si no me equivoco, fue en diciembre de 2013 que las Naciones Unidas nuevamente no ha decretado, sino nuevamente manifestó y pasó una notificación formal de que se va a tomar ya y se va a aprobar el diseño del pueblo afrodescendiente, partiendo de enero de 2015 a diciembre de 2025, si no me equivoco. Ahora bien, si ustedes como candidatos a concejales y como futuros concejales quizás, ¿qué tienen en mente? ¿Qué ya vienen formulando en su plan para realmente facilitar y asegurar los procesos y derechos históricos y colectivos de la población afrodescendiente, particularmente en las regiones autónomas del Atlántico Norte?
We could talk about this a whole day, but we're going to try to sum it up. I think one of the first things we need to do is work like real hard on our visibility. Because as we were saying, visibility is not just about counting how many black people is there and as he was saying, where we are and what we are doing. It's also about making sure that when we are there, that we are in charge, that we are really contributing. And we need to be more visible as we were saying, in education, in health, if we go into political positions, and you were talking earlier about using, more and more spaces where we could be taking decisions. That would be one of the things I think we need to work real hard. And in the region, I think we are still not even disaggregating enough information about when we come to the education system and the health system to see really what the black people are really, where they are really exercising their health to like basic needs. And then I think one of the things we need to do is, as we were talking about, if they're going to be a reform to our law, the 28, then we need to also go into making sure that we participate in the reforms and see how we could distribute not just, as we were saying, in one circumscription, but being more looking for more equality, more equity, and ensuring that we go across the region. Because when our colleague was talking about us here in the region and our development, we are so little of us. We are so few in the north, but we are strong. And we just have to really embrace the opportunities and the windows that open. And if this is going to be an opportunity for us to link our voice with also the decade for the International Afro-Descendant, I think we have a special role to play as politicians or as people in the council especially. And then we also, if we look at the ways of all these different forms of discrimination that we still suffers. Some of us are not even aware of it, but we still suffers. Yeah, because I always complain, and I think that is something I'm not going to stop complaining about. Is that when we go to the airport, for example, in Managua, and they ask for our ID card, you know, and they won't ask the rest of the people, because we the black are the traffickers, drug dealers, and all these things. So that is like more openly. But sometimes, as we were saying, in very subtle ways, we also discriminate. We suffer discrimination, and I just came back from a position that I was in the United Nations, where I was practically harassed because I was a black woman, and they could not take that. I had opportunity to study, prepare myself, and pose my positions. And uh, it's not easy, as I said, because these, even in the big organization, it's not that they want to, but this is a structural problem that we are fighting against. So I think with the international decade, those are things that we're going to have to do, is that look at different levels and see what are the changes that we need to do, but starting from the roots, the root of the problem. So I was looking at the even the proposal of a plan of action for the international decades, and I think there is a lot to do, and that we have to embrace the opportunity, but working closely with our people, because at the moment I think that we are very, very dispersed, and I hope that we try to come back together. And as Torres was saying, once we are there, we're not supposed to be looking anymore as, I am Frente Sandinista, or I am PLC, or I am PAMUK. We are councils for this region, and we are Afro descendants. So we have like a special duty towards our Afro descendants.
Yeah, I know you could talk. I like that. I like that. Yeah, one of the objectives of the decade of Afro descendants is precisely to try to resolve these small situations that we are from, because like discrimination, like lack of spaces, and we are considered part and not part of this society. Things like that is what really bother us here, not only here but whole Latin America. So it is an opportunity we have to try and call the international attention of these aspects, to see how we can transform this for the benefit of our people. But this cannot be done just us as in the government. It has to be with the organizations them That is why it is very, very important for us that the Afro-descendant organizations then come together and form one solid organization that could be the representative of the Afro-descendant people in order to get these benefits that is there, get it in action. If we could make our own plan of action, would it would be it would be good that we do this, because this is something that we need to do done here in our town, here in our community. So therefore, we need this. We need this organization them to work properly. Because if we do have several different organizations that representing the Afro-descendant people, then we aren't going anywhere, because one will be going one way, the other one the other way. So one of the basic things we got to do is get one organization that represent the interests of the Afro-descendant. I think it is also important to see what happened in the first year, declare the year of the Afro-descendant people. Practically nothing happened. We haven't seen anything out of it. It is because it is not because the United Nations or the institution that is within the United Nations didn't do anything. Is that we or people or authorities take what come for the Afro-descendant and use it in their own benefit or with the benefit of their own group. So I think things like that is what we have to identify in order to, when the decade is proclaimed, we use the power of that to get done what we need, and not be asking politician that is in other place to help us to do it. We can do it ourselves. We all have, right now I'm here, I feel so proud, really, to see that we are professionals. We have young professionals. I'm old right now, but I can say one or two things, and I think it is that is what we need, the spirit. We need the spirit to transform. If we have goodwill, we have spirit, and we have the decade, and we have the government, we have our representative, I think we can do a lot for our people.
Okay. We know in the actuality we have to work in the coordination with all council for give the opportunity to black people, because the circumscription 07, there are multi-ethnic people like a Creole group, Mosquito, Mayangna. That's why we need a work in coordination for the opportunity all ethnic group.
Great. Thank you. I know we are running out of time, so I want to be straight. There's a song that say, "Time changes the world and yet nothing for the poor." I would want to say, "Time changes the world and yet nothing for the black." You know, and we black people should know, as Bob Marley say, if you know your history, then you know where you're coming from. Buffalo Soldier. I want to tell you something. My party that I'm leading, the plea, from the 5 candidates from Port, 4 of them are Creole. Victor Alvarado, Fox, that speak Creole. Cecilia Willis from Down the Beach, she running for Sandy Beira, that speak Creole. Bushy Lindell from Cocal, that speak Creole. And Jimmy Miller, that running on the 07. That is because a Creole man leading this party. And that's why I want my Creole people them to be there. You can stop to any one of them anywhere and talk to them in English, and they would talk to you in English and Creole, because they grow up in this beach, Cocal, and different suburbs. 2, Uh, Sorry to know that 2011, when was the year for the black people, the government didn't do a big event. When I was in government, I carried out the Garifuna Summit for that, the black people. I wanted it to be here in Puerto Cabezas because that's my city, my home, but they blocked it through political purposes. I had to carry it down to Corn Island. And that summit brought out the declaration of the Garifunas Day in Nicaragua in November. That was signed by President Bolaños. And the other thing, we signed with the regional authorities, I have documents here, with the regional authorities to give space of the Caribbean people in the embassies in the Caribbean region, in the consulates, Jamaica, Belize, Barbados, you mentioned it. Here it is. We signed this agreement with our Caribbean leaders them to this is the Becca, this one, to promote our projects, promote how to develop our regions, to export our products to the Caribbean. Here it is, the signature of all our presidents from the region. At this time, they haven't implemented this. I'm sure if I was in power, as we sign it, we would implement this. Third thing, with the Caribbean state, after the summit, I sent, me as vice minister, I sent this to all the vice ministers, and you can see my signatures there, to this is the great integration, social, cultural, and economical for the Afro-descendants communities in Central America. I sent this to the Caribbean State Association. I was also proposed to be the secretary of the state. I have the document here. The general secretary, 23 countries in the Caribbean, supported by Central America. But just after the government took over, they swiped me off. Today is a Dominican person there. I would be there as a coastman, and we give this proposal. This is the proposal how to develop the whole Caribbean communities. Here it is. I hope we can get the power here in Nicaragua and the coast, and you be sure, because we are neglected. We are discriminated. Black people are discriminated up to today. As Florence said, I totally agree with you and with Dr. Armando Rojas. We are discriminated. It's not only put us into power, but give us the power to act for our people. And also, we know, as Dr. Florence said, black people know how to work in transparency. You said that. We know how to care another of our work. And we are small, but small together, we can do a big difference. And that is what we're looking for in this election. Thank you. We have a lot of things to say, but we will leave that. One of the things most important too is with the reform of the law, the autonomous law. Be careful now, because they're talking about territories. Which is the black territories? If black people have no territory, then you have no representative. Be careful. We need to be together. Remember, as the song says, together we stand, divided we fall. Don't matter. After we be elected, I have 5 Creoles. I'm leading them. Let's the Creoles get together and fight for our Creoles. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You know, man, we should have asked for this program of two hours, but unfortunately, we didn't make it that way. I would just like to close to give the word to Dixie afterward, thanking each one of you all for being here. I would just like to make a reflection, pointing out from each one of you all. Our black population feel quite frustrated of the leaders, Afro leaders that we have had in the regional council and at the national level also. I have, when we discuss in groups, we always ask ourselves a question because our black representative have showing our face as follow. Me and myself can't do anything. So I would like to leave this in reflection, as reflection with you all. If you all going in with that same mentality, we will never do anything. If we put our shoes in good men and women like Martin Luther King, Mandela, all those people, they did it alone. And they had people really following it up. Please don't let's drop in the same vision of myself alone, I can't do anything. I believe there is a lot to do for the Afro population. Thank God, one way or the other, the indigenous population have been receiving their rights, one way or the other. The black continue living a racist and discriminatory structurally. And we need to overcome that. Yes, we need to be more aware the black population, but we should even do an anthropological study of why today the black people are not feeling motivated to participate in political issue. It's not precisely because many of you all mentioned we are divided. That is not true. There is no group, not even political parties, are unite as such. The issue is historical exclusion towards the Afro. I would like to also state something that we have in this document after this forum, and it's a teacher mention. Today, the autonomous region, and particularly the Afro population, is not struggling against the historical exclusion and discrimination at a national level, but also at a regional level. He said today we are fighting with two monsters, and we have it textualmente as how that teacher said it. This is like to an open eye, but also old lady in that people she mentioned after this teacher said, you know what? Even if we talk and talk and talk, today our authorities don't care. They continue doing the same. And what she's so sad about is that we continue electing the same people over and over again, right? We are, as black population, the welfare of the black population have been built because of each black family. If we go to our public education, we still have to pay. We have all type of intercultural public policies. The Modelo Regional de Salud. Let's talk about that. And I can talk what Afros have in the health system. Are we focusing on that as such with Afros? No, we are not. The educational is a zero towards the regional council. So we just want to let you all know that there is a youth Afro also. You all need to work with the youth Afro. We all need to know that the youth is not the future. The youth is the present. And if we need to develop the youth, we need to start working with them from now. We are aware that there are secretarías en el Consejo y Gobierno Regional, and there are a Secretaría of Youth. Once more, the Afro youth is not being involved and taken into consideration in these spaces where they can start empowering themselves. So just as reflection, you all as Afro, you all as black that going in this place, please look forward once more and compel the Afros to accompany you all also. Thank you very much.
Okay, I just want to thank you all for being part of this little forum what we had, and I just want to leave some things clear here too. Like someone was saying, before we belong to a political party, we belong to our identity. We are blacks, we are Afro descendants. Second, we are Afro descendants living in the Atlantic coast, especially in the North region. And third, well, we belong to a certain organization, a political party or organization. So take those three things in count. And thank you all, and I think it's important thing to say. Many thanks, and thank you all for listening to this program, and we hope to see you all in our following program. Thank you.
I just want to say thanks once more to all of you and the opportunity, especially to meet with the other candidates. And I hope that we're going to be seeing each other in the future. And as we said, because we are black.
As Pamuk candidate in the number 8 circumscription, would like you to vote for in the Casilla 6, in the Casilla 6.
Thanks to all people for giving me the opportunity, and please, all person of this city and communities, you have to go and give the board the March 2.
Thank you again, and thanks everybody. Just remind you that The Creole people, we should stay together, stick together, and please look for your best candidate and show up. Because if you don't show up to vote, then we are losing our space. So I invite all of you, and especially the Creole people, step out and vote. Vote for the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night.
In the beginning, this was our dance. This was our song. Now is how we dance, and this is how we sound.
So come on up! Take out your rock, take out your flag, take out your rock, take out your flag, take out your rock, take out your flag, take out your rock. Put it up! Wave, 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 wave. Hold it, 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 hold it. One, two, now let it go. Tear up the plate. Twist up the plate. Spin around them out of space. Up in the air. Like you don't know. Head for the stage, the stage, the stage. Start the run, start the run, start the run. Make no mistake, it's carnival. The whistle and blow, prepare yourself for bacchanal. The world's greatest show, so grab a friend and join a band. Your costume and set your rag in hand. You're soaking wet. Anybody tired? Who got the rhythm pumping, the people jumping up there? Who got the energy to keep people breaking away? And when you see the band coming down for carnival day, on my command, show me a rag. Everybody take out your rag, take out your flag, take out your rag, take out your flag, take out your rag, take out your flag. Put it up, start to sing. Wave, 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 wave. Hold it, 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 hold it. No, let it go. Tear up the break. Step on the plate. Bring them round them out of space. Up in the air. Like you don't care. Head for the stage, the stage, the stage. Look. Could you kindly move the big truck? Ladies and gentlemen.